Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the tight end expectations. But before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the podcast, new episodes every Monday. Tune in wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and you can call in, leave me a question. And unfortunately, my Coach O'Leary season came to an end last night. Yes! Let's go. That's a house call for CJ Mosley. Should be. Come on. What was that? What was that? How do you go down? I thought X was slide. Attaboy. Go. Go, Anunwa. Go. He's gonna go. He's gonna go. Oh, that's big. Oh, that's big. Oh. What happened? Oh my god. It was a lot of fun going through the Madden season in 2019 with you guys. I'm going to try to do more Madden content in the future. I don't know if I'm going to play the next year or what I'm going to do with it, but thanks for all who tuned in, and more content in that regard coming in the future. So let's start with Chris Herndon, who I think is going to have a bounce back year. He had just one catch in 2019 after a promising rookie year where he put up over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, a majority of that coming in the final 11 games with Sam Darnold. He, being Chris Herndon, was pretty much a non-factor because he was suspended for the first 4 games, and then on top of that, injuries derailed his season and it became the Ryan Griffin show. But in 2020, I think he's going to be a key part to this offense. When you look at the connection that he had with Sam Darnold at the end of his rookie year, he looked like he was someone who was going to take that next step and be a premier tight end or a premier receiving threat at the tight end position, which would be huge for the Jets because they're lacking a little bit at the wide receiver position. I like Jamison Crowder in the slot. I think he's a very solid slot receiver. I like the potential of Mims, but I don't know if you can expect him to put up huge numbers in year one. And Brashad Perriman's a question mark in my eyes. He looked good in the last half of last year, but before that and earlier in his career, he's definitely been inconsistent. So I wouldn't necessarily say the Jets have the best receiving core. They're probably in the bottom third of the league in what their receiving core looks like. So to help supplement the passing game, you should be using Le'Veon Bell and Chris Herndon, and I think Chris Herndon is a huge X factor in this offense. I'm going to say Herndon puts up over 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. He had 4 in his rookie year, and again, that was in the last 11 games of the year when he started to really, get involved in the offense, and I think he's someone who is going to be one of the premier receiving targets in this offense. He's really good in the receiving game. He can play in the slot. You could do a lot of different things with him. So I'm excited to see how Adam Gase implements him in his offense. But I would be expecting, if he's playing 16 games, to give you at least 700 yards, maybe even more than that. Yes, I think he is someone who could push 800 plus yards as a tight end. I really believe he is that good in the receiving game. I'm going to say 700 for 6 touchdowns. As for Ryan Griffin, he's the one who took over that tight end 1 role last year in the absence of Chris Herndon. He played 13 games for the Jets, put up about 320 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns in 2019. He was one of Darnold's favorite targets. He was definitely a safety net for Sam Darnold. Never would have big explosive plays, but a nice check down option. So I think he's going to be implemented in the offense, not as much as Chris Herndon, but I think he's a very solid number 2 option for the New York Jets at the tight end position. I look at him as someone who could have about 300 receiving yards and maybe a couple of touchdowns to go with it. So I'll say 300, 2 touchdowns. And yes, that means I think both tight ends are going to combine for over 1,000 yards. Again, in order to supplement the lack of talent at the wide receiver position, I think the Jets are going to focus tight end heavy, use a couple of 2 tight end sets, and really use what they have on offense to their strength. The wide receiver position isn't a strength. They have a much improved offensive line this year. Le'Veon Bell and the running back position is obviously a strength, and I would argue that having someone like Chris Herndon and Ryan Griffin and having them both on the field at the same time would be a strength as well. I think, again, they combine for 1,000 yards receiving. I think that highly of both guys. 700 for Herndon and about 300 for Ryan Griffin sounds about right. And as for who I think the third tight end on the roster is going to be, Daniel Brown. He had a receiving touchdown last year against the Redskins. He played in 5 games. and he had 7 catches, 72 yards, and a touchdown. So I think maybe he gets like 5 catches for 50 yards. I don't expect him to have a ton of receiving reps. After that, like Trevon Wesco is on the roster. I don't really expect a whole lot out of him. Realistically, it's going to focus heavy on Griffin, who can hold his own as a blocker as well, and Chris Herndon, who is definitely more of the receiving threat. But I have pretty high expectations for this group because I think they have a really solid 1-2 punch at the top, which not a lot of teams have. Usually, yes, they have that one tight end who's a receiving threat, and then they have someone who's a little bit of a blocker, but the Jets have two who could be used as a wide receiver or as a receiving threat, excuse me, and they can get creative with it. I'm really excited to see what Adam Gase and the offense decide to do, and I think it's going to help out Sam Darnold, who seemed like he was missing a comfortable target last year, which was Chris Herndon. So let me know what you think about the tight end position and the tight end group for the New York Jets. I think it's one of their strengths, to be honest with you. I really am a big fan of both Herndon and Griffin, and I think they combine for 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. So let me know in the comments down below or get at me on social media. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Once again, I'm Matt OLeary, and I'll talk to you next time.